I'm 𝗓𝗲𝗪𝗶𝗏, a university student in nutrition and healthcare management at 𝗖𝗄𝗅. I'll be the MC for the session. Let me introduce Mr. Ivan, the moderator of this discussion. The topic is Cislunar water economy, water propulsion, and its implications, is presented by Mr. Patrick Suen, the founder and the CEO of eurus.space, startup on developing emerging space technology concept. Mr. Patrick, please.
Yeah, just a quick introduction of the session. So this session will be mostly on resources, right? But the most valuable thing that is we are going to live or travel in space. So Patrick is the founder and CEO of 𝗬𝗎𝑠pace, a startup company focusing on developing emerging space technology concepts and solutions with an emphasis on space, on resources. So Patrick is an engineer by training and an innovator with different startup and social impact ecosystems. So prior to his latest space venture, Patrick is experienced in all sorts of water and natural resources startups, and also he developed a Web3 framework to demonstrate access to renewable resources. So Patrick, can you share more about your insights on how resources, water, can be obtained in space? And for those who are not familiar, what is Cislunar and how important is the Cislunar water economy?
Thank you, Ivan. First of all, Cislunar space is the space between Earth and the Moon. So the distance between the Moon and Earth is around 400,000 kilometers. So you are imagining a vast space of around 1,000,000 km in diameter around the Earth, and that's the Cislunar space, and including 5 Lagrangian points, which is a position between Earth and lunar orbits, and we are talking with emphasis on the water economy in this vast space. In recent missions, we have discovered that there's sufficient water on the Moon, specifically on the South Pole. And the amount of water is enough for human civilization to consume for 500,000 years. So it's a big thing, and it's a big resources that we can tap on when we try to explore the deeper space in the future. So we're talking about 5 to 10 years horizon for exploring the South Pole and landing human on the Moon, and to build a moon base, sustainable moon base, not just one shot or ad hoc projects, a long-term solution and presence for human on the Moon. And so we need local resources for the moon base and for all the activities that is going to happen on the Moon. And these resources will include, of course, water and building materials and some metals and helium-free too. And by building all this, by doing the mining side of the mining water side of this beginning of the Cislunar economy, it will bring up the whole supply chain. Industry expert will come in, scientists will come in, technologists will come in, and money will come in. And that's what we're talking about, the beginning of the water economy in the lunar space.
So maybe let's focus more on the, I know that you deal with a wide range of resources in space, right? Right. So let's focus on the water resources, right? That your next venture or next project will focus on. So how do we use that kind of water resources, or prior to that, like how do we extract or process the water resources? Or what kind of steps, if we know that there are such resources there, what kind of steps that we need to do until we can use them for our purpose?
Right at this moment, we are mainly working on prospecting. Like what we are doing, the Chinese agency and the US agency is working on prospecting. So basically sending orbiter and doing investigations and looking at on the surface and see which part of the region has relatively more water than the other part. And the second step will be going there and do extractions. And before that, we'll have to have rovers, automated rovers, and AI, and a moon base. That's the second part, extraction. And the third part will be the distribution. So we'll need to have a supply chain, a line of transportations, logistics, services, and probably a fuel station in the L1 to L5 locations in the Cislunar space. And the third one will be building a marketplace. So different parties can trade in resources. And yeah, that's likely to be like 15 to 20 years or less.
So that's the more upstream part of the water economy that we're talking about, right? So when we're talking about like the latter part of the economy, it would be the applications used. So I know that you mentioned before we talked about that the water economy, right, involves both for the life support when we live in space, right, with the water, and also using the water for the propulsion for traveling in space, right? So can you talk more about these?
Right. Human activity will require water for life support, and space travel requires rocket fuel, which is can be extracted from water by breaking down water into hydrogen and oxygen. So the implications of having local water on the moon is huge, because it can provide the sustainable life support on the moon base, and also a sustainable way for rocket fuel. And we are kind of venturing into that area by introducing water-based propulsion technology, and we are prototyping a water-based propulsion engine. And yeah,
for like us laymen, can you explain more like in terms of how after you extract and process those water resources, how do you turn it into propulsion system? How do we use it? What kind of technology will be involved?
Right. Right now we are working on the nowadays feasible solutions. Before that, we were talking about like 5 to 15 years away. So what we are doing is something that will work today. And we are working on a prototype of a propulsion system for CubeSat, which is from this size to this size, briefcase size. So so-called 3U to 16U size of the spacecraft. And the basic principle is quite simple. You bring water onto the spacecraft and launch and into the orbit, and then on demand you do electrolysis to break down water into hydrogen and oxygen. And when you want to have adjustment on the spacecraft alignment or other maneuvers, and you release those hydrogen and oxygen and burn them and have a combustion to have a propulsion for the spacecraft. And the principle is that simple. And that's why we want to venture into this as a first step to break into the industry. And we do also have hydrogen expert, and myself I have a biomedical engineering degree, so I'm pretty familiar with chemical reactions and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and it's a first step into the new space economy.
We have a question.
On steel.
We have been around for 5 years, and I have been to in and out NASA's and ESA's conferences. For the first, right now, is self-funding, bootstrap, right there in front of me. For the prototype, we are raising a small round for prototyping the first version of the engine.
So speaking of the money or funding part, right? There is a $1 million question for you. Is that where do you see? Yeah. $1 million. Is that so where do you see the business opportunity, right? In terms of the Cislunar water economy?
Yeah,
And where do you see who are the clients that might potentially pay for the
that was my
service?
trouble questions too.
Yes.
Because, say, many times, like when you mentioned you've been to NASA, right? So, and you've been to to NASA and other conferences.
Right.
And then, overseas, globally, so many, those big centers, they already assign contracts out
Right.
to startups like that.
Right.
So, but in Hong Kong, this is basically today is the defining line, right, with this conference. So how are you going to get the commercial contracts? So, after the prototyping.
Right.
Sorry for that question. But that's what
Right.
I've been working on for the past few days, and then, this is quite an urgent question.
Right.
That startups has to face in Hong Kong.
I will start with some story on my side. We try to anchor on a few technologies for our projects, and then the next step will be building products and services around this anchor technology. And the next step will be building ecosystem around it, for our potential clients. Right now, for our anchored technology, which is water-based propulsion, the value proposition for this technology is to extend the lifespan of CubeSat. And the CubeSat market is the biggest. Well, I should not say this. Yeah, the biggest market right now for the new space economy. And so we are trying to tap into the relatively large market, and I won't say easy, but relatively easy for me, for my team to work on, which is hydrogen and oxygen and electrolysis. And so we tap on our strength, and we try to find a large enough markets which serve the US side and the non-US side. That's the problem. So we have talked to vendors in the US, and whenever we mention Hong Kong, we got like, sorry, we can't talk to you, kind of thing. Yeah. So we haven't structured the company yet, and we're starting to do that. And we have a few options for us to be able to sell to the other side, both sides of the world, and which is a fast growing market, the CubeSat market. And we'll be doing some investigation in potentially in setting up a company or subsidiary in Singapore. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. To serve the other side of the world, and the rest of the world is actually large. Yeah, is the other world that US will not serve is actually pretty large, like the developing countries that can't pay the premium for US technologies, those we can serve. Middle East, Africa, North Africa, and some part of Europe, I think that's the market. And since we are working on CubeSat and small satellite, so we have university, even high school market right now we can tap into. Our value proposition is that we extend the lifespan of a mission. So a CubeSat, like an average lifespan that the CubeSat can stay afloat in the orbit is around like a year or less than 2 years, and they will come back, decay and get burned out, and they spend like millions of dollars for 1 year project, and that will burn out. But our technology, our propulsion will help them to lift whenever they are going to decay into the Earth, and will extend 2 times or 3 times of the mission lifespan. So maybe we are selling around maybe 500,000 Hong Kong dollars for a piece of hardware that will help the millions-dollar mission to extend 2 times or 3 times. So that's our value proposition. Similar technology exists, but mostly in the US. Just one company have done commercialized launch in the US that they just done. It only happens like these 2 years in Artemis 2 and 1 with Falcon 9 back in 2021. And our prototyping time frame is looking around 1 to 1.5 years if successful funding comes in, and the commercialization will be another 0.5 to 1 year, I think. Yes.
How is the technology compared to that in the US, the so-called competitors? Very different technology.
Yes. The US technology are built by big corporations, and they are less flexible. Well, the existing, I should say, the existing commercial water-based propulsion system is built by big corporation in the US. And I think our edge is flexibility, and we can work out client solution faster than they can, because we're a small team and we can do custom built solutions for our clients.
That one is question.
Yes.
How do you compete with such big investment like SpaceX into this area? Because, you know, this is exactly on this area, right? So
Luckily, Elon has eyes on this area. Yeah.
curious, right? You stay bootstrapped and then
Right.
you spend so much time and effort.
Right.
Funding, and you know, there is a technology or something like that. So, but how do you compete, right? It's just like pushing right on, or would there be kind of small startups that you can collaborate with in the US or something?
Yes.
In building the whole system.
Definitely, partnership is key. Yeah, partnership is key. Yeah, is on our roadmap to build partnerships. We have to have 𝗬𝗄 builder partnerships, and we will have launch partnerships, and partnership in different countries, maybe in STEM educations, all that kind of stuff we have to build the community.
On the propulsion system is very different from the STEM education, right? So
For the IEEE guy, Paul is incubating a group of high school students that is doing hardcore CubeSat design. I was talking to him. Yeah.
please choose or what?
Pilot. We are open for STEM or high school for our pilots, and they trial launch it.
Question. In a system engineering point of view,
Yeah.
When I build a CubeSat, I will prefer some solution that is simple. And let's say for a solution, you have several steps, right?
Right.
You need electrical power source, maybe
Right.
from the solar,
Right.
and then you do the electrolysis in the middle.
Yeah.
And then probably you need to burn your fuel you
Right.
get from water.
Yeah.
So because like in the CubeSat, the size is very limited.
Right.
So how compact is your solution, and how robust is your solution?
Right.
Because for more complex or multi-processor solution, there will be more failure points.
Right. Right.
So
more risk of.
you mentioned that you want to extend the life of the mission to a longer time,
Right.
but you at the same time you introduce more processing risk in between. So
Right.
how do you mitigate it?
Our target size for CubeSat is at least, I think, for at this moment, will be 6U.
Or 6 years, like
Yeah. So our engine will be likely, depends on the water tank, the size of the water tank.
Yeah.
It will be from half a U to 1U size.
Okay.
Depends on the water tank. For a 3U CubeSat, the usual practice will be around, they will only carry around 400 grams of water. That will be enough for the whole mission. for basic maneuver and adjustment.
My second question is also on the technology. Would it be more efficient just to use the electric propulsion engine instead of?
Right, the iron drive
Yeah,
and
exactly.
all those things.
Yeah.
That's a product differences in iron drive and our water propulsion. Our water propulsion is basically a hydrogen engine. So from the specific impulse to the delta V, all the data is different because iron drive is for the long duration burn, but they have a very small thrust. And so maybe if you want to move a CubeSat for, like, say 20 km, iron drive will take like weeks for them to, because it's a small thrust for a very long time. But for our chemical reaction thruster is much bigger thrust and adjustable too. And it's it's a different application, I would say.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I'm afraid of the time constraint of the session. But it's a very interesting discussion, like both from the business side.
Add more data if you want.
Yeah, I mean from the business side and also from the technology side, right? So I think Patrick will be happy to connect with all of you.
Yeah, sure.
On his future exciting project, right? So yeah, I think I have to wrap up for the MC.
Yeah. So we know that water is an essential component for human survival. We also know that it's not only abundant on Earth, but also on parts of the moon, and also the areas between, as Patrick said, areas between the moon and the Earth. So with the use of the water, we can utilize the water to different technological use and also invest with business. I think that would be the end of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Too short time. Yeah. Yeah. Good job.
Yes, it's going to be a currency.
So, oh, you're so pretty, bro.
This life is short, right?
Yeah.
So